Miss Universe 2023 is shaping to be one of the most exciting pageants of the year, and this is not only due to the beauty and the caliber of girls that we are getting this year, but also to the fact that we have so many crossover queens who are coming into this competition with a lot of experience, strategy, and performance. So for today's video, I prepared a list of 13 queens who decided to make a crossover at Miss Universe 2023. So make sure that you watch this video until the end because I promise you it's gonna be a really good one. Now that's enough talking. I will see you with my 13 crossover queens right after the intro.
Be strong.
Let's get right into it. As I told you earlier, I prepared a list of 13 candidates. However, 3 of them are actually quite minor titles, so we're just gonna talk about them briefly and then we're gonna focus on the top 10. So at number 13, we have Kate Alexiva, who is currently representing Latvia at Miss Universe 2023. Of course, this is not her first time around. She actually competed at Top Model of the World in 2017. Unfortunately, she was unplaced during that competition, but that didn't stop her from competing once again since she joined Miss Grand in 2019. Unfortunately, she was also unplaced during that experience, and this time around she's trying at Miss Universe. So maybe third time's a charm? Number 12, we have Lisbeth Valverde, who is currently representing Costa Rica at Miss Universe. Back in the day, she joined Miss Panamericana International 2019, which honestly seems to be more of a minor pageant. I personally never heard of it, but the reason why I put her on the list is definitely because she was the winner of that competition. So although it might be a minor pageant system, she still managed to win big. Number 11 on the list goes to Helena Blazer, who is currently Miss Universe Germany this year, and you might remember her from her performance at Miss Aura International in 2022, where she managed to end up in the top 10 of the entire competition. But now, as I promised, let's actually start talking about my top 10. The first candidate that I want to highlight is Fabiana Granville, representing Indonesia at Miss Universe 2023. She previously had the opportunity to represent her country at Miss Global in 2018, where she managed to end up in the top 20. When I was looking at the footage from back then, I have to admit the performance was quite average. It could use some polishing. You could see that she was lacking of experience. In all fairness, we also have to mention that Fabienne was quite young at that time. So to be representing an entire country at such a young age is already a huge pressure on her shoulders. We can say confidently that ever since she has improved her styling times 100. And although she was not considered to be the fan favorite to win Miss Universe Indonesia, she was still supported by her people. Now, it's unclear to me if she will make it to Miss Universe or not because of all of the scandals that went down at Miss Universe Indonesia. However, we're always sending the best vibes to Fabienne and hoping that she's able to make it if the organization decides to allow it. Moving on to number 9 on the list, let's talk about Michelle Con, who is currently representing Guatemala at Miss Universe. She already competed at Miss Grand International in 2013, over a decade ago, where unfortunately she was unplaced. Of course, I had to take some time and go and check out her performance from back then, and honestly, after reviewing the performance at MGI, I can see why she was unplaced. There was a lack of energy, and she didn't have that X factor that normally you would expect from the girls who compete at Miss Grand International, especially since that's one of the focuses of the competition. And granted, MGI was not yet what it is today. However, even for back then, the performance was lackluster in my opinion. Now, one thing that we can say to her advantage is that Michelle always had a very elegant aura. Even back then, she carried herself wonderfully. So I think those are attributes that are going to be very helpful for her here at Miss Universe, where currently, she is already managing to make history, being the first mother to be crowned as a Miss Universe contestant, not only in her country, but also out of the entire competition, the entire history of the competition. So Michelle, whether you like it or not, already made history at Miss Universe. The fact that she's coming back as a mother with more experience, with more character, I actually think that is really going to benefit her, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her go really far in the competitions. Moving on to number 8, we have to talk about Chinese Palacios, who is representing Nicaragua at Miss Universe 2023. She previously competed at Miss World in 2021, where she managed to end up in the top 40. I personally find it so hard to compare a performance from a Miss World to a Miss Universe because those are so radically different pageants. However, if we can say one thing about Chinese from back then until now, is that she was so consistent. When I was reviewing her material from back in the day at Miss World, you can tell that Chinese was doing good in the competition, but she was not managing to stand out. And based on the level of performance that I was able to see from back then, I don't think that a higher placement other than the top 40 would have been granted. However, now going to Miss Universe, There has been a 180-degree transformation when it comes to Shanice, from the styling to the performance to the confidence to just the entire aura and the way that she carries herself. I think that I can confidently say that she is one of the front runners out of all of the Latinas and arguably the most supported Latina of this entire batch. She is the living example of how much of a difference styling can make, because if I compare her look from 2021 to now, I can say that right now she looks so much more confident, more radiant, and those things translate so much into the way that she carries herself. Please let me know in the comment section how do you feel about Shanice, but for me, she is a clear top 5, at least at Miss Universe. Moving on to number 7, let's talk about another Latina. Her name is Camilla S Griego, representing Peru at Miss Universe, and she already represented her country at Miss Grand International in 2019, where she managed to crack the top 10. One thing about Camila, I mean, facially and physically, she has always been a standout. That is definitely not a question. When I'm watching some of the older videos of her performances at MGI, I can sense that she always brought the performance, the X factor, the diva type of aura on stage. So definitely that's something that has been very consistent ever since back then. In my opinion, the biggest growth that Camila had to go through in order to make it to this point has been more on the personal level, maybe more on the advocacy level, because we know that MGI is not really known because of these things. It's more about the presence on stage, the performance, how you carry yourself. Miss Universe, you need to do a lot more in terms of advocacy and social work, communication skills, how you present yourself, being a leader, a force for good, you name it. The list goes on and on and on. So I think that this has been really her focus coming back to Miss Universe. In all cases, when you combine her killer performance from back then at MGI with now the new version of Camila, which has evolved and grown so much over time, I think that she will be a perfect fit for the Miss Universe crown. So let's see how things go for her. At number 6, let's talk about one of the biggest pageant powerhouses in the world, Venezuela, who is currently being represented at Miss Universe by Diana Silva, who also had the honor and huge responsibility of representing Venezuela at Miss Earth in 2018. Back then, Diana managed to make it to the top 8, which honestly, in my opinion, this is such a huge accomplishment, since it's not a secret that Miss Earth is the most challenging pageant in the world, in my opinion, in terms of intellect. You need to be really eloquent, you need to know a lot of scientific facts, you really need to study and be on top of everything that has to do with the environment. So already this speaks volumes in terms of eloquence, the communication skills levels that Diana brings to the table. Back then at Miss Earth, there was an incident where Diana actually fainted during the competition. Unfortunately, she was not able to continue her performance. Recently, she granted an interview where she talked about this incident, and she expressed how much she has learned from that experience, how she was able to grow from it, and how much she learned to take care of herself to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. This time around, competing at Miss Universe with an organization such as Miss Venezuela behind herself, I know that Diana will have access to all of the best trainings, the best team taking care of herself, and on top of the technical skills that she will acquire, that she has acquired already from collaborating with Miss Venezuela, and all of the comm skills and leadership skills, as well as presentation skills that she earned during her time at Miss Earth, I think that Venezuela is honestly a threat for everyone in this competition. Don't sleep on Venezuela, because she might take home another Miss Universe crown. At number 5 on the list, we have to talk about my national delegate, Madison Kevaltin, representing Canada, of course, at Miss Universe 2023. And one thing that people don't know about Madison is that this is a pageant veteran. Actually, we just had Madison here on the channel the other day for an interview, and one of the things that I learned myself is that Madison competed at Miss Intercontinental in 2016. At that time, I don't even recall, but I think Madison was like 17 years old or 18 years old. Thing is, she was super young, and to have that opportunity to represent an entire country, that is already huge. Unfortunately, at that time, Madison did not manage to obtain a placement within the competition, but that didn't stop her from joining again and going to Miss International just last year. I had the pleasure to witness her performance at Miss International because I did attend the event, and she was exceptional. Her performance on stage was really, really great. She's extremely beautiful, really eloquent, and I love the way that she carries herself on stage. Because of that, she managed to obtain a top 8 placement at Miss International, and she decided to go back to Miss Universe Canada, where she managed to win this year. What I can say is that Madison is not only a lovely girl, but she has a lot of experience that a lot of people will take for granted. And because of her young age, some people might disregard her and not see her as a threat in the competition. But I'm sure that when the time comes, she will show up and show out. Not everyone gets to represent their countries 3 times internationally, so that's something that we definitely have to give to Madison, and I am sure that at least a top 10 is granted for Canada. At number 4 on the list, let's talk about Melissa Flores, who is currently representing Mexico at Miss Universe 2023. She actually competed at the same time as Diana and Celeste Cortesi and so many other girls who came out of the batch of Miss Earth in 2018. Because of this, I feel like a lot of the comments that I just shared for Diana, they also apply to Melissa. As I said, Miss Earth requires a lot of brains, substance, commitment, hard work. It's not just about being pretty and looking good in a dress. At this particular pageant, Melissa managed to end up within the top 4, which granted her the title of Miss Earth Fire. Because of this, she also had the opportunity to continue working hand in hand with the Miss Earth organization all throughout an entire year. If I'm being honest, she's one of the girls that I haven't talked about so much just yet here on the channel when it comes to Miss Universe, but I am aware of her potential, how much support she has, and how incredibly well she performed at her national pageant. I have been watching some of her clips on social media as well, and I'm going to say when I update my predictions for Miss Universe, you guys will be seeing that reflected. Now, at number 3, the time has come to talk about Philippines. Of course, Michelle D has the honor and huge task of representing the Philippines at Miss Universe 2023. She is no pageant newbie. She already represented the Philippines at the 2nd biggest pageant in the world, which is Miss World in 2019. We have to give her props because Michelle managed to end up within the top 12 of the entire competition, which often has more than 70 delegates. So that's already incredible. In terms of the evolution, Michelle is one of the girls who really changed so much ever since her first international competition. Deep down, I have a feeling that Miss World was kind of a school for Michelle because it was her first international experience. She was learning as she was going. She was also under a lot of pressure because of who her mom is, being an international title holder for Miss International, her cousin being one of the title holders for Reina Hispanoamericana as well. So I think that Michelle was going there with people expecting her to do really well. Now, after that experience at Miss World, she decided to come back at Miss Universe, and it took her 2 attempts until she managed to win the national crown. But already if you compare the 2 performances, you can see the evolution in terms of styling, the evolution in terms of character, in terms of commitment, her profession, and even in how authentic she is to herself, going as far as coming out as bisexual this year. One of the things that we have to say about Michelle, and that has remained consistent ever since the Miss World days, is her commitment to her advocacy. She is an advocate and a spokesperson for the autistic community, for which she always tried to create awareness. So now that she is going to Miss Universe, I know for a fact that Michelle will deliver on the comm skills, the substance, the performer, because although she is not one of those fierce girls who goes crazy on stage, she will always deliver something dramatic and very eye-catching. So I'm beyond excited for MMD. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about her? At number 2 on the list, we have to talk about Carla Guilfo, who is currently representing Puerto Rico at Miss Universe. We all remember her from not so long ago when she competed at Miss Supranational in 2021, and she managed to end up as the first runner-up. Carla's performance at Miss Supranational was nothing less than flawless. She showcased a lot of consistency and character all throughout the competition. I have seen so many comments of people saying that Carla should have won that edition, meaning that everyone saw the potential, the performance, they were so enamored by her. But in all fairness, I do have to say that Shanique Rabe has been an outstanding title holder for Supranational, so I wouldn't go as far as to saying that Shanique wasn't deserving, because she was. Of course, when someone does so well internationally and they represent the country fairly, pageant fans are always delighted when they know that the girl is going to make a comeback. That was exactly the reaction that she received when she announced that she was going to join Miss Universe Puerto Rico again, and to be honest, she was a clear frontrunner since the beginning. When you compare her 2 performances from back then at Supranational until now that she is going to Miss Universe, you can definitely see that there has been some steady growth and improvements. However, if I have to be honest, I will say that she is perhaps the most consistent girl in terms of branding, the way that she carries herself. I feel like the Carla from back then is still the same woman, just like a leveled up version. She is more polished now, she is more experienced, but she is still just as consistent, as good, as beautiful, as eloquent, as committed as back back then. So that might be one of the things that the Miss Universe organization might want to take a look at and not take for granted, because consistency, it's always a plus for a title holder. And finally, at number 1 on this list of crossover queens, we have to talk about Antonia Portelles, who is currently representing Thailand at Miss Universe 2023. We all remember her from back then at Miss Supranational 2019, where she managed to win the entire competition. And that's right, she is the only girl within this entire list that managed to win one of the major pageants in the world. I know that people talk always about the big 4 pageants in the world, but for me, Supra is right up there within the top 5. So this is still something that is remarkable. This was honestly like a groundbreaking moment when Antonia decided to join Miss Universe Thailand, because although it has happened a few times over time, in history, that some title holders decide to go to other pageant systems, it's something that is quite rare. And usually it's not with a pageant that has such a high level of respect and recognition worldwide. It is fair to say that Antonia was taking a lot of risks, and the reception of the pageant fans was kind of mixed, I will say. Some people were really excited to see her make a comeback, and others took offense of her comeback because they saw it as a shady move towards Miss Supranational, which honestly I can understand both sides. Back then in 2019, when Antonia competed at Supranational, she just showed up and won the first Supranational crown for Thailand. Now, talking about Miss Universe, it is fair to say that Antonia is considered to be one of the fan favorites of the entire competition, not just because she already has a huge name in the pageant community, but also because she is coming from a really strong pageant country that really hypes up their queens. She's definitely considered one of the fan favorites, if not the fan favorite of the entire batch. This time around, she opted for more of a produced, polished look that goes a little bit against of the look that she had back then when she competed at Supranational, which was more natural, more relatable. This time around, I feel like Antonia has really elevated things. Antonia doesn't really feel anymore like she is on a candidate, beauty queen, or title holder status, but she has more of a celebrity status, especially after her comeback and her victory at Miss Universe Thailand. Recently, she just hit the mark of 1 million followers on Instagram, which is something that is not to be neglected. And I also think that this is going to increase her commercial value, especially in Asia. So this is something that we cannot neglect, and that it will be very appealing to the Miss Universe organization. So if they want to go with a commercial queen and take advantage of that visibility, I think that Antonia will be a safe bet for the crown. I think that Antonia is great at everything. She's a great speaker, she's a great performer, she is great with her advocacy, with her commitment, all of the things. I don't think that she is excellent at any of those things, but at least there are no peaks and valleys. Antonia is quite linear. You know that she will always deliver a great performance, although in certain categories, certain girls from this batch might be able to outperform her. So let me know in the comment section, guys, how do you feel about this list of comeback queens for this year's edition of Miss Universe 2023? Personally, I found this very exciting because I think that the girls will bring their A game, will be able to see their evolution and how they have grown over time. It's also going to make the competition more stiff and more interesting. So I will be reading you in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit the like video if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this. And of course, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on those contents whenever I upload them. Now, if you want to keep on watching Miss Universe material, just click on this video and enjoy. See you on the next one, everyone. Bye.